The first album I'll be reviewing is Tyranny by Julian Casablancas plus The Voidz. This is an experimental noise psychedelic rock group started by Julian Casablancas, the lead singer of The Strokes. This is music that at first listen to anyone is just extremely ridiculous. There's so much going on. It's just this cacophony of rock sound. Everything's coming at you at once. Synths and crazy guitar noises. And it's pretty weird. So starting with track 1, Take Me in Your Army, which is one of my favorite tracks on the whole album. You can tell that this is going to be something that's completely unconventional and strange. It doesn't sound like old Julian whatsoever. There's this beat that the only word I can think of is just gangsta. Nothing Julian is saying is making any sense, which is perfect for him, because nothing he says ever does make any sense. It's completely unintelligible, and right from the start you're just like, okay, well I'm just going to focus on the music because I have no idea what's going on lyrically. So I think the casual listener kind of is at a loss when it comes to the lyrics in this, because Julian just doesn't articulate. I think this first song is so cool because it sticks with the basic pop structure of just verse, chorus, which is, I think, what Julian does best in his previous music. The Strokes is very simple rock music. It's mixing hip-hop elements with rock singing and rock guitars. It's just a new attitude, something that's very fresh, I think. Even though there are these hip-hop beats, there are still rock elements in this music. There's a guitar solo in this song, and I think listening to it, you get some of that old Strokes vibe from it. It's evident to me that Julian, as a songwriter, was invested in the Strokes as a project and actually did a lot to the Strokes' music, because even as just solely a vocalist, you can see elements of that music coming back here. So I think it boosts his reputation in the sense that it seems like he had a large part to play in just the writing of the melodies, even of the guitar or other instruments. Overall, they try to connect all the tracks on this album with transitions, and some of them are very strange, like old radio jingles. Crunch Punch is the second track, and as the name suggests, this is just a hard-hitting rock song. It's just coming at you. Crunch Punch. The riff is sweet, and this is kind of where the album shines, I think, is in these riffs. There are so many good riffs on this album. This song has a really memorable chorus and memorable chorus melody. I think a lot of Julian's melodies are not very melodic, but they still work somehow. A lot of times they're dissonant, hanging on notes for too long, suspending notes that aren't going with the chord. You hear a lot of the falsetto that Julian used on the last Strokes record, Come Down Machine. This kind of stuff. This song is filled with just layers of sounds put on top of each other. It just sounds like they really put a lot of effort into the recording process. Dissonance is welcome on this album. It's everywhere. It sounds, even though there's a lot of time put into the recordings, it sounds like most of the time they were just jamming. Things happen that aren't perfect. There's sloppy entrances. The timing is off in a lot of places. It just kind of sounds like they're fooling around most of the time. When I first heard the song Mutually Assured Destruction, I was thrown off guard. I loved the riff, but it just didn't really have any impact on me. Even after listening to it for a long time, I still feel like this is kind of a throwaway track. The periods after Mutually Assured Destruction are after the M and the A and the D. It introduces sort of a very dark tone, a dark and sad tone to the album. But I don't think it leads very well into the next song, which is Human Sadness, and this is kind of the centerpiece of the album. It's set up that way. This long song is comprised of three basically 3 different jams, and then just a multitude of melodies that Julian seems to make up on the fly. It flows from silly to beautiful just really well, I think, but it just, you know, if they set it up to be a beautiful song and then they're adding these like chicken screeches, you're just not gonna take it very seriously. Like right before the guitar solo in this song, there's just a huge screeching guitar that just like undermines everything that they've put into the song already. This song has a guitar tone that sounds a lot like the Strokes track from Room on Fire 1251. It's that, sounds like the Cars song. Just what I needed, just what I needed.
That sounded like you farted.
This song made total sense as a single because I think the melody just sticks with you. At the end of the song, it gets really slow, anthemic, and almost orchestral, and it's a vulnerable moment for Julian to really let some of the lyrics come out on the album. Finally, we've been waiting for the lyrics. They set it up for Julian to sing the main theme, the main melody of the song, and what he delivers is just completely unintelligible. Garbage is coming out of his mouth. Maybe singing to goats. Maybe he's at the dentist, got some fluoride going.
Something dainty, tripping around in maple syrup.
It really is, overall, it's a gorgeous moment, regardless of whether you can understand the lyrics or not. Where no eagles fly. I think this is a lyrical standout on the album. The wolf will cry sheep as they take him away. We plot in our sleep but follow orders all day. This song to me is about having all the tools to start a revolution, to make change in the world, but just lacking the initiative, lacking the action to actually do so. Lyrically, there's little continuity on the album as far as a storyline, but songs like this, where, you know, that lyrically stand out, are a lot like the old Strokes albums. Songs like The End Has No End and Eyes of the World were a lot different than other songs where he literally said, I have nothing to say. It seems like Julian's confined to just phrases that sound pretty cool. Like the music itself, it's just kind of a mishmash of ideas. Father Electricity is another top track for me on this album. It's got this Latin, really funky beat. The instrumentation is amazing. It sounds like a jam that they just perfected. There's a lot of unique sounds here. I can't even decide whether they're guitars or synths. It's definitely a mood shift from the overall tone of the album. The rhythmic syncopation on, there's one of the, I think it's a guitar, I'm not really sure. There's a solo, and it's just a little behind the beat, and this is such a good moment. Also, this track is kind of where the album shifts and becomes a little long-winded for me. In old Strokes music, there's just an intentionality behind the lengths of the songs. Everything seemed to be in place and put there for a reason. And sometimes they would even just play a chorus once. That was an awesome chorus, and it would just left you wanting more. And that's something that a lot of these songs don't do for me. It's like they're the same ideas in songs, especially like Johann von Brahms, Dare I Care. Although there are some cool melodic moments in these songs, they're just kind of these same ideas pounded home again, and it doesn't really work for me. It gets a little stale. And songs like Business Dog kind of go back to that just leather jacket, cool. They bring me to this mood of just driving down the street like this and just looking out the window. And it sounds like you're eating Reese's Puffs. And then it gets to the chorus, which sounds a lot like the song 50-50 from the last Strokes record. This throat thrashing vocal that's just like, you just want to give him a cough drop. The final top track for me is Nintendo Blood. It sounds a lot like his first solo album, Phrases for the Young, with the dancey chorus and the poppy synth lines. So the final song on this album, Off to War, doesn't really make any sense, but I guess that's an apt way of ending the album. I think it's interesting what they chose as the name of this group, with Julian's name being at the very beginning. I think it would have been, the album would have been maybe valued more if it was just The Voidz, because a lot of these ideas are really unique, really new sounding and not too tied to Julian's old stuff. But obviously putting Julian's name in there, they're going to sell more albums. Overall, I think this album is not accessible at all. But for a fan of Julian's previous work, it's actually pretty hard for me to decide whether I like this album or his first solo album more. This is certainly not background music. Your girlfriend is not going to like this. It's interesting experimentation, but the casual listener is not going to be able to jump into this album and find anything really to grab onto right away. For an artist who had his glory days about 10 years ago, this is a really intriguing new sound, and I think the album is great for anyone who's searching for this fresh rock sound, specifically in a rock genre which in the mainstream world is on the decline right now. On a scale of 10, I'm giving this album a 7.5. Just a white background with a dude in a black and white sweater. I like it.